listening to. I say you are listening to. You are absolutely listening to the George Espinlove Show, coming to you live from the Funny Farm. Now, with no further ado, here comes Georgie!
Thank you. Thank you so very, very much. Golly gee, I just love that. In case you don't know, you're listening to the George Espinlove Show, and I promise you, you'll never be the same again. We're coming to you live from the Funny Farm in a place called Our World, which we do not know. We have no address. We don't know where our world is. We just live here, and that's good enough for us. It's a whole lot safer in our world than it is in yours. And if I sound like I'm talking through my nose again tonight, it's because I'm talking through my nose again tonight. This thing is still with me, but we're fighting one another. And hopefully I can win the battle. So just bear with me, please. This is Thursday night. To me, it seems like it is Tuesday night because we were down and out Monday and Tuesday. So this is Thursday night. We have a delightful guest with us tonight. I believe that you're just going to enjoy her energy, what she has to say, listen to the things that she has done. I think she's going to take us on a fun journey. How's that? And it is no one other than Sonora Chase. And we're going to bring her on here in just a moment. Before I do, email me, georgece@comcast.net, georgece@comcast.net. I thank you for the emails that you've been sending. If you have questions, ask me. I'll answer them. That's georgece@comcast.net. The chat room is open. Later on, we'll open the Skype line, and we'll just laugh and have fun. How's that? All right. As Charlie says, and he's laying over there in the corner, with no further ado, we want to welcome Sonora Chase. Sonora, welcome to the George Espinlove Show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
It's good to have you. So, you've been a busy lady.
Yes. Yes, I have.
Give us a little background about yourself and where you come from and, all those good things.
All the gory details.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm from Texas. Originally, but I now live in New York and Los Angeles. I go back between the two cities. My background is mostly in theater and sketch comedy, and I started doing TV about 4 years ago. I had small parts on Boardwalk Empire, Chuck, and a TV show, a short-lived TV show called Romantically Challenged with Alyssa Milano and Kyle Bornheimer. And at some point, I just got really restless, and I was like, I need to make my own stuff. I think this is a new thing. We all have the capabilities to some extent to make our own stuff, whatever that stuff is, whether it's radio, whether it's TV, whether it's theater. I think it's a bit more accessible now. So I started a blog about actors who self-produce, and I essentially took 6 months off of auditioning and just produced. So I produced a solo show, a comedic solo show, and then I produced this 3-part series for Funny or Die called Airport Douchery. And as you would imagine, it's about all the douchebags you meet in the airport and revenge or comebacks that we don't necessarily think of at the time. It was very cathartic. It was really fun. And we shot in a studio here outside of LA called Air Hollywood. Wonderful people. And it's the same studio where they shot Bridesmaids, the the plane scene on Bridesmaids. So of course we all had to go and like sit in all of the chairs with, where all of the stars sat. That was great, and it's taking off. It's doing great, and people are laughing, and I think there's a lot of universal comedy in airport trauma, because we're all sort of trapped in the same location and trying to get on the plane and trying to get off the plane, and mayhem ensues. So that's what I'm about.
I was reading here, and I found this very interesting. After live tweeting my nightmares on planes, they actually added up to a whole TV series.
Yes.
Is that what you based your show on?
Yes. Yes. Because after what happened was people kept saying, "Oh, that's really funny. Wow, I can't believe you thought to say that in the moment." And oh my gosh, all this terrible stuff happens to you all the time when you fly. But what was happening is I was going back and forth so much that I had sort of collected like 10 years worth of material in about 2 years. So then what happened was I looked back on all of my tweets one day, and I had sort of forgotten how much stuff had happened. People cutting the line here, or trying to sneak that by security, or picking fights, or kids pressing the heck out of the back of the monitor, or the back of your headrest, and just constantly getting thrust forward, or terrible things like I have a friend who always gets stuck next to somebody who doesn't bathe, doesn't brush their teeth, and continues to pass gas for the entire 5-hour flight, all of that stuff. So yeah, so in retrospect, it was enough to fuel an entire series.
Did you write the show?
I did. I did. I've been writing since I was very young, and I spent so much time training and working as an actor that I really neglected that. So I found a writing coach who is phenomenal, and her name is Jessica Blink, and you might know her as the co-author of The Exonerated, which was a very successful play and also an HBO movie with Susan Sarandon. And she helps me. This is the other thing I'm finding. Artists all give each other a leg up. They help each other out, and we get to build on the progress of others if we're lucky.
This 3-part series, tell our listeners where they can watch that.
Well, look, there are 2 places: funnyordie.com and YouTube. So if you Google Funny or Die and Airport Douchery, which is spelled Douchery, or if you're a YouTuber, you can go onto YouTube and Google Airport Douchery, and it comes up. And there are 3 episodes. They're each under 2 minutes.
I watched them, and it's almost like a tease. I watched those 3, and I was hoping that there was some more laying around somewhere. Like I dropped something off the desk and I can't find it. Are you going to do some more of them?
I would love to do some more. The plan right now is to promote these 3 and see if they take off, and to take it to other producers and see what the response is. To be honest, production, if you're going at this production quality, this level, it does cost. We had to rent the studio, we had to pay the professional cinematographers and sound and all of that. So you want to just be careful to do enough that people want more, and then find a way to package it and budget it. And I would love to get it on network television.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, there's enough stuff going on in the airport that I think we could fuel that.
Yeah, I think you got a real gem tucked away in all your tweets. I second that motion. I'd love to see it on mainstream TV. I really would. And I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Oh, no, that's okay. Yeah, I think it would be great. I think it'd be very funny. And we certainly have the resources to do it in California because there are fabulous lots here and lots of space, and yeah, I think it would be great. And I think we're getting kind of tired. Like I don't know about you, I don't want to speak for the whole world, but I'm getting a little tired of the plethora of procedural drama, procedural medical, legal. We have sort of 10 or 12 of each of these things, and although Pan Am was interesting, I thought that was great. I love Christina Ricci, but I think it'd be great to have something that's actually set in the airport, and it has everything to do with the customers as well as, I think, the employees, too. There's a little bit of revenge happening with the employees.
I like the one where you was going through the line, throwing your stuff in the bucket.
Yeah.
That was just pretty neat.
You like that, huh?
Karma will turn around and bite you. I think.
It's true. It's true. And for those of you who are listening who haven't seen it yet, I'll just say quickly that somebody cut the security lines to go through the metal detector. So we all had to come up with, or we didn't have to, I came up with a nice little revenge. I had a rejected item that wouldn't make it through the security, so I just stuck it in our bin. And then we proceeded to take the bin, one customer at a time, and pass it all the way down the line to the end. And that happened in real life.
Really?
Really. We didn't put things like Leathermans in there. Like, nobody put matches in it or anything like that because nobody brought that to the airport. But we were so enraged that somebody had just walked right to the front, thrown their bin down and shoved it through the conveyor belt and then walked through the metal detector. We were just appalled. So I grabbed it there and I pulled it out and we all passed it down backwards.
That was some smart, quick thinking, or quick, smart thinking, whichever way it is. But that was pretty neat. I'd have liked to have been a part of that. But with how long does it take you to shoot one of these? Did you say you shot it all in like 2 days?
We did. Actually, we shot the first one that you're talking about right there. That one took the longest. That took a full day, 8 hours, for 2 minutes of sketch. And then the second day, we shot 2 sketches in 1 day, and those were each also 2 minutes. So it was 4 minutes of material on the second day and 2 minutes on the first day. And the reason why it took so much longer to film the first one is that we had to coordinate the passing of the bin all the way down with the different hands, and then we had to get different kinds of takes through the metal detector.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just more complicated because there was a choreography that we didn't really, that we anticipated once we thought about it. But when, initially you think, oh, these are all 2 minutes to shoot it in a day, and that's just not realistic. You want to make sure that you get every angle and then it runs smoothly. Otherwise, the joke isn't there, which is important for comedy. Like, if it's not boom, 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 if it doesn't really land on the joke, then it's not funny. So, that's how long it took. It took 2 days. I think if we had fleshed them out to a full, say, a half-hour sitcom, which is really 22 minutes with all the commercials, that would have probably taken the whole week to do that.
The people that was in this 3-part series with you, are they, what do we want to call them? Are they working actors and actresses, or are they like everyone else, like us out here, trying to get up the ladder?
Yeah, they are actually. They're all working actors and improvisers. Most of the actors that you saw graduated from an improv school and an acting school, such as an improv like Upright Citizens Brigade. That's where I went. That was founded by Timothy and Amy Fuller and a few other people. And a couple of the guys were from Groundlings. And I just knew them from theater and from, I knew two people from grad school, actually, in one scene. That was pretty awesome to have New York represented when we went to Brooklyn College together in the MFA acting program. And it was great. It was a good variety of people. I think we need that whole mix of theater and improv and TV as well, because that's sort of what makes that don't know, it's sort of a golden moment when you have all this stuff underneath, and then you have the improvisational flexibility to bounce off of things and create new reactions or gestures or just unexpected moments that were not scripted.
Do you, I'll get it here in a second. When you was shooting this thing, was there the other people that's around, was they in it, or were they just people that happened to be there?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. In the second sketch, it took place in the sort of waiting area where we were all waiting to board the plane. And those are all actors and improvisers that I put a call out for background actors, and I specifically wanted improvisers, because it's such a different tone. And sure enough, all of these improvisers that were just getting started out in LA or have been here for a while and just really loved Funny or Die, they emailed and they said, yes, I would like to be a part of this. And I'm so grateful because all of those actors really made a difference. If you have people who don't want to be there, it brings the set down, and it also brings the picture down, literally. So it was great. It was such a good camaraderie. We all, sort of bonded over that, and we're social media friends now. So all those people that look like real people, they're good actors. They're very good actors.
What's it actually like? And I don't know if you can describe it or not, but to a layman like me, when it comes to that industry, what's it like to become a character? And when you're in front of the camera, you are that person. What is that feeling like?
It's kind of otherworldly, actually, because I have to know myself to step out of myself, and I have to be very comfortable with myself to leave certain things behind and pick up other things that are not necessarily my neuroses. I think the most fun and liberating experience that I have when I become a character is when I actually dive into my own neuroses and make them bigger, deeper, worse, funnier, crazier, when I just go as far as I can with it. That's really liberating. Because then you get to see the humanness of yourself, and then, we're not so bad. Nobody's that bad. You know what I mean?
I like when you said how'd you say it? You have to be comfortable with yourself. Maybe that's not the exact words, but I guess that's what she's implying. When you're in character, is it hard to come back to being you?
I don't think so. It also depends on what you're doing. Like if it's comedy, for me, I go right into the funny. I go right into the humanness. I exploit whatever the flaw is that makes this person take something so seriously that it's comical. And that's a little bit uncomfortable, so it's kind of nice to come back to yourself. In terms of playing a powerful woman, I've done a lot of Shakespeare and Moliere and classical theater, and the women are either written as very strong or very victimized. And it kind of gets all over you. Like it's kind of like when you have a conversation with somebody and they've lost someone that's significant to them, and they're sad, and you go there with them. You don't like pretend like that person's not having those feelings, and it kind of gets all over you a little bit. And that way, two humans are, you can acknowledge that you're not experiencing something alone, which I think is why we have that connection. Well, it's similar in theater and TV when you take on a character. When you come out of it, it's still around. It's still sort of lingering. But you've never lost yourself. Like you're never not there as an actor. You just picked up these other given circumstances and obstacles, and at the end of whatever you did, you either got what you tried to get from the other person or you didn't. And then you're sort of left with that, and then you move on, and those circumstances and obstacles just fall away because they were imaginary anyway.
I guess it's good that self's waiting for you when you come back, huh?
Yes.
I know I lose myself every now and then. I never get too concerned because I know we'll bump into each other somewhere someday. But I've always wondered about that. Tell me, when you're on theater, now you do those like nightly or so many times a week. Is that how that works?
Yeah, generally, unless you're on Broadway, you get like 2 weeks, and you'll do it like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then you're off for 3 days, and then you do it again. If you have an extended run, then you're doing it every day, sometimes twice a day, and you'll get 1 day off, and then you just go like that through all the holidays and everything for like a year or two, depending on how long your contract is.
Now, when they say these plays run for X number of months or even X number of years, is the same people in those plays from day one to last day?
Usually, yeah. The idea is that you have a contract and you fulfill that contract for however many years that you signed up for. So, for example, somebody who does TV and theater, they're less likely to sign a 2-year contract. They might sign a year, they might sign 6 months, they might sign 2 months. It depends on whatever they signed. But the supporting cast, the people who make their living doing only theater in New York, will just be in that show until their contract runs up, and then usually they'll renegotiate and maybe get a small raise and stay. I mean, the dream is to stay, for a lot of people, to stay in that show with that theater family, like you said, until the show ends.
Do you feel like you lose any of your cutting edge when you do it so long, so often?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've never done a show for a year, so I can imagine like it gets to be a little stale sometimes. But the longest I've done a show is 2 months, and towards the end, I remember getting tired, but it was more of a physical and emotional thing. Like, oh boy, it's kind of like if you go to see, a lot of family, and there's a lot of together time, and after like 3 days, you get a little weary. But if you were there for 2 months, you would feel differently at the end of the 2 months. And theater families are good like that too, but also your relationship to the play. It's that you have to find a way to revive it. And for me, what helps is to use the audience. There's somebody different in the front row every night, and this is the first time they've ever heard these words, so their response is different. In fact, I had an interesting experience. I don't know if you know this show, but it's called August Osage County. And it takes place in the plains, and it's a mind-blowing play. It's fantastic. And people are yelling and screaming, and there's all kinds of, like, real gritty stuff going on up there. Nobody's looking pretty. Like, all kinds of stuff is flying around and happening. Well, it was on Broadway for over a year, and I loved it so much that I saw it a second time, and this was about a year into the run. And they had switched out one of the characters, one of the actors. She did her year, and she was gone, and somebody else was playing this role. It was a fairly small role, but there was a man who was talking to her, and I happened to be sitting in the front row, and the light from the stage sort of spilled over a little bit onto me and maybe the person next to me. And I felt a little exposed, but I couldn't help but think, so here's this guy talking to this woman. She's got her back to me. She's essentially between myself and him. And he's not able to reach her. Whoever this new actor is, she's just not open to him. And I could see as an actor in line with this actor that he was not getting any response out of this actor. Even though I could only see the back of her head, I could tell from him. But I was so engaged in what he was saying, and it was so real to me. All of a sudden, he stops looking at her, and he looks at me in the audience. You never deliver your lines to the audience, right? You deliver them to the character or the person that you're speaking to. But it was such a long scene, and it was so safe for whatever reason in that moment for him to do that. And he did it. And it was, for me, it was amazing. I was just, like, I can't even tell you how incredible that was. But I think that there are times when you feel safe in the theater to do things like that, to get what you need from the audience.
Is it, well, I know it is. Is burnout a problem with people?
I think so. Yeah, it can definitely be a problem because we need to sort of refill the well, as Julie Cameron says. If you're a writer, you need to rest. You need to take breaks from writing. If you're an actor, you need to rest, but you also need to physically go out and do other artistic disciplines in order to have something to fuel your work or to comment on. Or I'll say this: I was working on my thesis show in school, and I was playing somebody who was in her 50s and had 2 children, and she just couldn't have been more different from me, and it was a stretch. But what I did was, since we were in Brooklyn, we were Brooklyn College, and I was so close to Broadway that what I would do is every week I would go see a Broadway show that had a woman in her 50s in it. And I couldn't find a woman in her 50s, I just went to a show anyway. So rather than sort of racking my brain and to like come up with what I needed, or just sort of collapsing from the burnout of trying to figure it out or doing it over and over, I just sort of absorbed what other people were doing, which I think you can do artistically. You can't necessarily do that with math or science. You can't just absorb it when you see it. Mm-hmm. It's like riding a bike. They tell you the functions, and then you watch somebody, and then you just try and imitate. So I think that burnout is a real issue, and it's up to us as artists to find a way to refuel our craft.
When we out here look in at a finished product, whether it's on the theater or TV or the big screen or what have you, all we see is the polished, finished thing. But more times than not, most of us, if any of us, even takes the time to think how much work it took to do what was just done that we sat back and enjoyed. For instance, it took you 8 hours to do that 1 2-minute segment. Now, when I watched that this afternoon, I never even thought about that. And probably when thousands of other people watch that or other things, we don't think about how hard the work is, but it's tremendously hard, isn't it?
It is. It is. I have to admit, I come from the same perspective. I grew up watching a lot of TV, and I saw the credits rolling at the end, and I was like, whatever, there's a hairstylist or something. I just didn't, that was as far as I thought about it, I guess. And I think that it was a very humbling experience to think, oh, I'm giving myself plenty of time, 8 hours to shoot a 2-minute sketch. That's plenty of time. But actually, if I think about it even deeper, I spent hours writing it, I spent hours rewriting it, and hours getting notes and rewriting that.
Uh-huh.
And then the editing process took many, many, many hours for the editor to do. So that was easily 20 hours of work, plus which is like 3 days of work, plus the scoring the music. Terry Dame is the musician, and she scored all the music, the original music. So there's 7 minutes of music, and that took days and days and days as well. So all of this, by the way, is being squeezed into their other schedules. They're juggling kind of like a contractor. You don't just have one house you're looking at, and you have like 3 to 5 maybe, depending on how big your crew is. It's kind of like that for filmmakers as well. Everybody is working on at least 3 projects, if not more. So there was all of that, and then, so yeah, it's like 8 hours is just a filming time. It doesn't even, like, then also there's the producing side of it, where we have to coordinate everybody to show up. We have to go and look at different sets and see which one we're going to use, and then pick out props. And also, there's coordinating of food. We have to bring, catering. Like, there's little details like, oh, well, food, and we'll just do this and that, but actually it turns out to be several months of work.
Every T's crossed, every I's dotted.
Yeah, exactly. And all of these things that we don't even know will come up when they do. So it's a lot of work. Nowadays, when I see a feature film in the movie theater, I'll actually stay as long as I can. I can never really make it to the end of the credits. I feel like, oh, these people worked on this, and I may not know exactly what that grip or best boy grip did, but I want to stay as long as I can to just sort of acknowledge all that it took, because hundreds of people obviously worked on it. I didn't have hundreds of people in mind, but if it were a TV show, I would.
It's amazing how people can put their heads together, and each person or persons contribute something to build something. It's just amazing. Of course, I know it's not all harmony all the time. I'm sure there's some rough times when everybody's trying to put something together, because everyone's got their own ideas. But for the most part, I think it's amazing that all these people, when I look at credits, the only thing, and I have to confess, the only reason I'd look at the credits at the end of a TV show was to see if I knew anybody. I didn't pay attention to what they did. I was looking at last names going down there real quick, just to see if I knew someone. But when you mention it now, in my mind, I can see all these credits going down. Everyone played a part in putting that puppy together, and without that one person, it wouldn't have been complete. I just think it's amazing.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, it's great.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, it's also one of the things that Christine Vachon says, she's a producer who I truly admire, that for a director to be successful, they need to have a very clear vision and be able to communicate it effectively and efficiently. Mm-hmm. And it's true, because you have to have that. It's almost like a card you're playing on your deck. You've got to have it handed to everybody all the time. Because all these people come up to you. I also directed this. All these people come up to you, and they ask you a gazillion different questions, and they're all directly related to what your vision is. And you have to already know how to communicate to them. And it has to be really clear. There aren't a lot of niceties in that part of it. You don't need it. You need an answer. It's yes, no. You can't really say I don't know yet. It's yes or no, or I want this or I want that, or that kind of thing. So I think the way that all those people get along together is when the director really knows what they want, and then they can communicate it with ease.
Something that I was really impressed with, and that's how much you care about other actresses and actresses. That's primarily what your blogs are about, isn't it?
What's that?
Your blogs.
Oh, my blog.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, my blog. I love sharing what I've learned, and I love hearing what other people are learning, because I feel like actors are right now on the precipice of creating their own work that goes to network television. And we're seeing this a lot. We're already seeing this. But you can even skew it younger. Like, say, there's a new show called Marvin, and it's about an alien boy who comes to Earth and passes as an Earthling and is adopted by a family. Well, the kid who plays the alien was a YouTuber for years and years. He had his own YouTube channel, and he was very popular. He has millions of hits. He's created his own work, and now he has a TV show. While other actors who have been writers, but, like myself, only recently starting to write again, we're not waiting for someone to put us in a category or to create a show. And that's what the blog is about. It's about actors who self-produce. And, the funny thing is, since I started doing this, other people have asked me to produce for them, but this isn't my calling. My calling isn't to produce yet more stuff for other people. It's to produce what I want to see out there. I want to see stuff like Airport Douchery. I want to see stuff like Minerva Mingles. I want to see real people on screen who go through real stuff. And I think that one of the best ways to have that vision preserved and happen is to do it yourself.
You see, you get me all excited, and I have to stand up. And I'll tell you the reason why. We are always looking for musicians and singers and songwriters and authors. People, I call them gems that are hidden. And I told someone last night we had a fellow that started his own internet radio network, and we were talking about it. And I told someone before the show last night, all the top names that we're all familiar with, no matter whether it's country or rock or hip-hop or whatever it is, most of us know the majority of the big top names. But have we ever listened to those other voices? And we go dig these people up. Maybe that's not the right terminology. We go find these people. And then we promote their music. And I told this individual, there are some real gems that are tucked away that we need to go find, not for us, but we need to go find them so we can expose them and let them shine for the masses to see and to hear. And when I was reading about you, I thought, now that's the way it should be. Because everyone that is way up there is way up there. But I believe with all my heart, there is as much talent down here that is up there. It's just nobody's seen it or nobody was looking for it down here. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I think that, and thank you for your words. That's very kind. I appreciate that. I think that there is a lot of talent between New York and LA, everywhere. I think the talent is everywhere. In fact, the kid I was just talking about, I believe he was from Wisconsin. And I think that there needs to be a huge change in how things are produced, how things are distributed. And I think that's coming because now that we have our own outlets, we have YouTube, we have Funny or Die, we have all, I'm sorry, I shouldn't probably list a gazillion of these, but we have resources and we're starting to build our own audiences. But we do need people to lift us up a little bit because I've sort of gone through the 1,000 people that I know on Facebook. And, at some point, that has to happen because we do get tired of seeing, I don't want to say tired of seeing the same people because we don't. Like, we love these people who are performing for us because we do. But there's also more out there than that. And there are more perspectives and more points of view about the world. And we see that when we diversify our writers for music and TV and film and sketch and other media. But I think that we need to have a bit more variety. If I'm really honest, I look back to my grandparents' day. They had a lot of variety of music. They had a lot of variety of newscasters. They had different voices and perspectives in the world. Certainly it was lacking. There was a lot of diversity that was missing. There's a lot of religious, ethnic, and sexual orientation diversity that was completely missing. But the thing that I have to acknowledge is that they didn't just have the same 12 people on the radio. You know, they didn't have the same 12 people on the cover of magazines or in movies. It was different.
With this modern day technology now, excuse me, I'm 64 years old, so I've been around when this wasn't around, and I'm still around when this stuff is here. Now, I'm like a kid in a candy store, and I will confess to the world, I am an addict. If my internet service goes down for 20 minutes, I'm a basket case. Uh, I had a guest here that he calls it going dark, where he went on vacation. I've told our audience this several times. He went on vacation to Italy, and he said he went dark. He turned all his electronic communicative devices off for 30 days. And
Wow.
this is the truth, Sonora. I literally sat here and trembled and broke out into a sweat, thinking, "Oh my God, I hope I never have to do that. Please don't let me go through anything like that." But this modern day technology allows people those creative juices that someone out there never paid attention to. Now, those creative juices can begin to flow, and they have the means and the way to get it out there. And I think, the boy that, well, he's a man, but, a young man, the man who created the Facebook thing. Simple idea, and look at it. And most things on the internet are like that nowadays. And I just marvel at what, like you, and putting this thing together, and all the other things that you've done, and the way you reach out to other people. I don't believe there's anything in this world that can stop the new innovations that's taking place in your industry, in the radio industry, and in all industries. I don't think there's anything that can stop it anymore. Do you?
No. I think the genie's out of the bottle, and this is it. We're all free. We no longer have to have whatever was required before to be on the radio or to be on TV. Like, especially, what really brought this home. I was in New York. I was home for the holidays, and we were sitting around. My nieces and nephew were there, and they wanted to see the Air Producer video. And I said, I think that I can, with my rope box, I can just click around and click open Funny or Die. We played it on our TV.
Mm-hmm.
So what's happening with the kids is the kids don't know necessarily any difference between YouTube and a TV. They know exactly when if somebody has a weekly show. They know exactly when to tune in. They know exactly when this is happening. And that's the same relationship we used to have with TV Guide and network television before DVRs were invented.
Yeah,
they made a point to sit in front of the TV at 8 o'clock to watch The Cosby Show.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So now the young ones have that relationship, but they have it with the Internet. And there's no going back. There's no way. And we all have this technology now. Even when Flip, the little video camera that was HD, fantastic gadget, by the way, when they sold their technology to another company, and that company decided that they were going to just use the technology for conference calls, video calls, in corporations, and no longer make the Flip, even then, I have to say, we're all running around with our Flip cameras because they have the USB little arm that flips out, plugs into your computer, and there's your movie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the technology isn't going away, even if somebody's like, well, we're just not going to make that anymore. Somebody else will eventually make it. And the thing is going to last another 5 or 10 years anyway. So as long as we have the items, like we physically have the cameras and the microphones and the Internet, we can literally do whatever we want to do.
It's like to terrestrial radio is well, a lot. Most of the small stations across the nation have been gobbled up by the corps, uh,
Yeah.
which made the little guys, the little station, literally corpses. Uh, if you go around to the local radio stations, like in our neck of woods here on the Eastern Shore, you'll see the building, you'll see a big antenna, the tower sticking up, but you see no people. It's locked. It's tighter than a drum. Now, there is broadcasting going through it, but it's not with the DJ in there and the engineer and all that kind of stuff anymore. It's all done by the corporations. And if somebody wanted their music played, it was like pulling hen's teeth. Unless you knew someone that knew someone that knew someone else that knew somebody that really knew somebody, they wasn't going to play your music. But now on the internet, I mean, there's people like this crazy bunch around here. We'll play anything. We'll play anything for anybody, just in hopes that they'll light up the world. And that just gives us a warm, fuzzy feeling. And I guess that's the same thing for your industry. It's out there. Nobody can stop you no more.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a book called The World is Flat that you might have heard about by Thomas Friedman, and it talks about how the technological advances have changed how we view the world, and it's sort of it's completely leveling the playing field. And that's for our industry, for all, and even the telecommunications industry. When you call for customer service, you're calling India. Technology made that happen. We have huge cables on the bottom of the ocean that connects us to them, or satellite, or all of these things. And I feel like the distribution power is being spread out a bit, because we can now turn our computers into TVs, and actually TVs are now all internet ready.
Mm-hmm.
So we're turning our TVs into computers.
We've gone a long way from an old black and white with an outside antenna that you only got one channel on, and you had to turn the antenna around. Then somebody standing in the doorway saying a little bit more, until you get a half decent picture. I like what you said, Sonora. My life completely changed once I stopped seeking work outside of myself. Plus, I got to act out every fantasy of revenge and justice I could think of, and then stuffed all that would fit in 3 mini episodes. But you changed. You stopped seeking work outside of myself. You probably did, but tell us what that means.
Well, instead of the focus being outside of myself, looking for, seeking interviews, auditions, general meetings, we have these things called casting workshops where you can take classes with casting directors, and they give you really good feedback, and you learn how to audition better, but you also begin a relationship with them. This whole part of our industry is about relationships. And you've got to meet a lot of people before you meet somebody that's really a fan. So the point is, it takes a lot of work. You got to build a lot of relationships, and then you audition a lot of times before you actually book something in that office. That puts the focus of my creative work outside of myself, on someone else. And to be honest, there aren't a whole lot of people writing the kind of comedy that I do. They want, for commercials, I'll just say this. Usually the guy is written with the funny line, and the wife, I'll say the wife, is the one that goes, oh dear. That's no fun. Like, how long am I going to do that?
Right.
How long am I going to be that wife? Or thinking on sitcoms very often, it's the girlfriend or the wife that sort of sets up the joke, but then the star of the show, who, in all fairness, created the show, so of course, why would it be any other way? They have the laugh lines. So I saw this trend one day, and I realized, oh, I'm the star of my own show. Even if it's a 2-minute show, if I'm really writing for myself, then I can turn the focus back into myself instead of out of myself and create the work that I wish was out there. The work that I have in my head, my imagination that I think is out there, it's actually not. Because nobody's written it.
Uh-huh. You see,
and I think that that's true for a lot of artists. Like maybe the shows that some musicians want to play, they're going to have to create that band or open a venue, or I really don't know what, but the days of us as artists pursuing a corporation for acceptance, approval, and distribution are over.
I see, I stood up a little while ago, and I probably won't sit down for the next hour and a half because you got me jacked up. I'm telling you, and I'll tell you why. I've always been the kind of fellow that's marched to my own drum beat. Did I do some wrong? Oh yeah, but for the most part of my life, I've always done what Frank sang. I did it my way. The Espinlob way wasn't always the right way, and sometimes it was a little rough coming out in the other end. But it wasn't that I wondered. I would always become angry inside when I would go to someone with whatever, and they would eyeball me, and then they would say, well, have you done such and such, and can you do such and such, and you know, they're putting you through this interrogation session. All they need is a light bulb over the top of your head, but it ends up that you're in the hands of one person, and one person can look at you and say, "No, I don't think so." If there's anything that'll make me spit sideways, it's those kind of people. And what you said, you have to learn to build relationships. And I found out in my lifetime that many people are made of plastic. They'll smile when they're supposed to smile. They'll laugh when they're supposed to laugh. Even if it isn't funny, they'll laugh because they're supposed to. And they're like little puppets. Somebody will pull their string. And when you said about coming out of yourself, working outside of myself, and you was no longer going to rely on that one person, I've always been a believer that if I'm going to succeed, I'm going to succeed. And if I fail, which is no big deal, I'll fail. But it won't be because you put me there or you brought me down. You just got me all stirred up. You're just you're all right. You're just plain all right. I want to ask you one more thing. You've done commercials, and probably there's a lot of people that have heard your voice or seen you that after tonight they'll say, "Oh, yeah." I played the on your website. I played the dooflicky where the commercials was, where they did the voiceover. What are some of the commercials that you've done?
I did an H&R Block commercial, but it only runs seasonally, and it may not actually run anymore. I did a commercial for a hospital, which I can't even remember what hospital was. It was on the East Coast. I did it, the only one I think you could probably find online is actually the funniest one. And it's for extended stay hotels. And it's been dubbed the farting commercial. Because it's called, the theme is so relaxed. And that concept is like, so relaxed, you do anything at home, you would you do anything here, you do at home. So essentially they have all these people sort of farting or passing gas. You don't actually hear it or anything like that. But what happens is, well, I won't tell you. You'll just have to Google it. It's pretty funny.
Okay.
And I'm the only woman in it. I'm the only woman who actually would, do this when we got to set, and everybody else would sort of cut out of the commercial. So it's me and, 5 other guys, and there's something about, seeing a nice lady do something embarrassing that sells really well. So I tend to be, the nice lady buying the dryer who walks into a glass wall or, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's probably the only one you'll find online.
You are a real delight. Now, ladies and gentlemen, go to sonorachase.com. That's SNORACHASE.com. And there you can read all about. There's some videos there. Go to YouTube and go to, funnyordie.com?
Funnyordie.com, and just search Airport Douchery and it'll come up.
Wow. You've been a delight, and it's been, and I'm not using flattery. It's been an honor to have you. You've been a lot of fun, and I hope someday that you come back and be with us again.
Oh, thanks. I would love to. It's been really wonderful talking to you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming. I know that you're a busy lady, and keep on keeping on. And I just hope everything you put your hand to blossoms and blooms. Thank you so much.
You. Thanks. Have a great day.
You too. What a delightful lady. Wow. The energy that she's got. I like her rambunctiousness. Is that a word? Rambunctiousness? Yeah. Well, I like that. I like people that thinks and then says, you know something? Whether you like it or whether you don't, I'm going to try this thing. Where would we be today if all the men and the women that came up with everything that we have, look around, look in your home, look at the studios, look anywhere. Where would we be if someone that came up with an idea all of a sudden just went jellyfishish? That's not a word, but that's an Espanol word. They just went jellyfishish because somebody looked at them like they had 2 heads or said, you can't do that. Where would we be? I like people just get fired up and just say, okay, whether I do or whether I don't, I'm sure going to try it. I'll be back in just a minute. Oh, that was nice. I like that. And so did these people here at the Funny Farm. You're listening to the George Espinlove Show, coming to you live from the Funny Farm in a place called Our World. I want to give a big shout out to Mr. Harry B. over there in Northern Ireland. Big Tiny up there in Greensburg, Pennsylvania. Let me see. Lou Balls just up the road there in New Jersey. He's not too far from us. And Lou, if you're listening tonight, get up with me so we can chat. Graham Forster over in Parma, Italy. He's an English guy that lives in Italy. That's cool. And he is just one tremendous individual. It goes on and on and on. Duck Landis, Sophie Sullivan. I'm gonna miss somebody, and somebody's gonna get mad at me. Some night I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna read the whole list off and tell everybody hello and how much I care about them and how I appreciate them. And I appreciate you because you have tuned in one more time, and we want to make this the best radio show that we can possibly make. We are, I repeat, we are continuing to work on another show that we're going to produce, name, rank, and serial number, all pertaining to veterans. Second World War veterans, and there's not many of those left anymore. Korean, the Vietnam War, the Gulf Wars, if men and women are serving today, whether they're here in this country or serving abroad, we want to bring honor to them. So we're gonna produce a new radio show after the first of the year called Name, Rank, and Serial Number, where we will be talking to the actual veterans, and they will be sharing with us some of the things that they faced and are still facing to this day. So remember that. Name, rank, and serial number after the first of the year. Brand new show we'll be producing. There's a lot going on. Email me, georgece@comcast.net. That's georgece@comcast.net. Email me and let me know what you're doing, where you're at, what you think. Have any questions, ask me. And I need to tell you, my boy Charlie, he had surgery yesterday, and he's feeling somewhat better today, but he's laying over there in the corner. He's not working the board tonight like he always does. We have our other fella over there, you know, the man that looks out the window all the time. You know, I don't want to say it too loud because as soon as he hears the word window, he'll run out of the sound booth and be looking out the window. And we need him running the board right now. But Charlie, I think Charlie's going to tell you about his surgery. Aren't you, Charlie? Once you're feeling better? Yeah. He's still in some pain. He takes his pain medication. Of course, here at the Funny Farm, we all take some kind of medication, you know. Some more than others, but we all take some kind of medication. So Charlie will get us up to speed on what's going on with him. Here's a group by the name of Fabulous Hats. I've had some fabulous hats in my lifetime. Breakout. Oh, yeah.
I'm on the side of the road, and you blew right by me. I come around to your door, 'cause I need you to hide me. 62 days under the ground, and we just waved goodbye to the penitentiary walls. The penitentiary walls. freight train ripping all around in my brain. I can't let them see my face, boys. We gotta hide the chains. I can't turn around here. I ain't never going back. That old guy must have a lump on his head. I guess I'm glad that he ain't dead. Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah, hell yeah. 62 days under the ground, and we just waved goodbye to the penitentiary walls. The penitentiary walls. It's like a freight train ripping all around in my brain. I can't handle the lock on my door. Won't see me back in there no more. No way, no how. 62 days under the ground, and we just waved goodbye to the penitentiary walls. The penitentiary walls.
I'm telling you, that music.
I ain't never going back. I can't handle a lock on my door. Won't see me back in there no more. 62 days under the ground, and we just waved goodbye to the penitentiary walls. The penitentiary walls. Penitentiary walls. The penitentiary walls. Just wave goodbye to the penitentiary walls. The penitentiary walls. The penitentiary walls. Penitentiary walls. Penitentiary walls.
That's the kind of music that goes way, 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 way down deep inside. That'll get everything moving. I'm telling you, your feet will be tapping, your fingers will be snapping, your head will be bobbing, and your booty definitely will be shaking. And that's exactly what's happening right here at the Funny Farm. You need to come be with us, visit with us. Because once you come, you will never be the same. Many people come. Few leave. I'm serious. They find out that it's absolutely true. It's safer in our world than it is out there in yours. I do want you to know, before I say another word, I want you to know that we will not be responsible in any way, shape, or form for any side effects that may occur to you due to the fact that you tuned into the George Espinlove Show. Sorry, there's going to be a change in you, but we can't take the responsibility. We have two goals, and here they are. One is to put a smile on your face, even if it's a slight smile for a short time. The other is to make you just as crazy as the rest of us here. And that makes me laugh, because we're gonna get you. Yes, we are. Spider in my web. David Rio.
Spider in my web. what you trying to do. You treat me so unkind, treat me like a fool. You're a spider in my web, a spider in my web. Wearing your disguise, running around the town, telling all your lies. You're a spider in my web, a spider in my web. What you trying to do? You treat me so unkind, treat me like a fool. You're a spider in my web, a spider in my web. Spider in my web,
And many thanks to our guest tonight, Sonora Chase. Wasn't she a delight? My goodness. She got me standing up, I guess, about 3/4 of the way through our little chat. And then, of course, we get the music going and stuff. I can't sit down with that. So she's got it. That's all I can say is she's got it. Go to Sonora Chase, SONORA, CHASE, SonoraChase.com. And there you can read all about it. There's some videos there. Go to YouTube and watch Airport Dutry, or you can watch it on funnyordie.com. Tomorrow night, before I forget, tomorrow night, a musician, singer, songwriter, performer, young lady by the name of Jordan Corey out of Los Angeles, California, will be with us. She can flat out sing, and we will be sharing some music with her, with you, her music with you tomorrow night, and we'll just have us a rocking good time. And on Monday night, don't forget C.P. Kelly, a country western singer who has recently, just this past month, been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. He's going to share his account with us, and you will hear his fight. You will hear the determination deep down inside of his soul, where he's going to continue to make music, sing music. He just, today is what? Charlie, what's today? 13th. On the 15th, Sunday. Is it Sunday? 13, 14, 15, Saturday. His new single will be released. So we will be playing that tomorrow night, and we'll be saying more about C.P. Kelly. But tomorrow night, Jordan Corey, a young lady out of Los Angeles, California, a performer, musician, singer, songwriter, she will be with us, and we'll be showcasing her music. I think I covered all the bases. My friend Jen out there in Ohio, she wrote, she put up a picture or one of those e-cards up on Facebook, and it said something like this: "So grateful for Facebook. Otherwise, I would have to phone 428 people every night to let them know I was ready for bed." Ain't that something? I mean, think about it. Now, wait a minute. No, wait a minute. Before you get into that too squirrely now, think about this. You know, when I was a kid, and even, after I partially grew up, I'm still not grown up because them grown ups scared the death out of me. Anyhow, think about it. When I was a kid growing up, I'd say, "Good night, Mom, good night, Dad." That's it. Then, you get married, you tell your wife good night. Then, when you have kids and the kids are old enough, they're telling you good night, and you're telling your wife good night, and you're telling the kids good night. And you do that for a number of years. But think about it. Now, Jen would have to call every one of those people up, 428 of them, every night to let them know she's ready for bed. When with modern day technology, all she has to do is just say good night. And all 428 people see that. I think it's good that you can tell 400. You can. Quit laughing at me. I have a question for somebody out there. Maybe you come in the chat room and answer it for me. I got this sneezy, snotty, sniffly, runny, stuffy, drippy nose type thing. Could someone tell me why it gets worse at nighttime than it does in the daytime? I mean, I'm just asking. I don't know. But I sure do appreciate you putting up with me last night and tonight, because, man, I got me a head full of whatever this thing is. Sometimes it seems to be getting better, and then other times it just hangs all over me. Won't let me free. But I'm going to shake this thing. Somebody tell me that. Charlie, look that up. No, you don't want to look. He's sleeping. His pain medication kicked in. Oh boy. I have to drag his butt over and throw him in his bed. But anyways, where was I? I have no clue. No clue. That's what it is around here at the Funny Farm.
Kick off the evening with a show that begins at 8, 7 Central Time, immediately followed by another show of a similar theme at 8:30, 7:30 Central Time. Then at 9, 8 Central Time is another show, followed by another one at 10, 9 Central Time. Then after your late local news, it's another one at 11:35, 10:35 Central Time, except if it's preceded by a golf or tennis update, in which time it will start at either 11:50, 10:50 Central Time, or 12:05, 11:05 Central Time, after which stay tuned for another show at either 12:37, 11:37 Central Time, 12:52, 11:52 Central Time, or 1:07, 12:07 Central Time, depending on whatever golf or tennis update was at 11:35, 10:35 Central Time. After that, stay tuned, whatever time it will air, for paid commercials, repeats of the 11 o'clock news, burned off syndication flops, bad movies, or a test pattern with an Indian head in the center of the screen. It's all right here at 8, 7 Central Time, unless something like the President of the United States of America has a televised press conference at 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern Time. In that case, just add anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours to each of the times I have given you, depending on the time zone that you are in. And in this extreme case that this may occur, California will slip into the sea. Your trash pickup will be a day late. Polar bears and penguins will swap poles. The Great Pumpkin will rise. Paris Hilton will be sent back to prison. Cork will finally be out on DVD. Nothing will stay only in Las Vegas. Oprah Winfrey explodes. People die from watching Rachel Ray. An oil company will declare bankruptcy. Jesus brings the pork chops. Harry Houdini escapes death. Dogs and cats will be living together in harmony. People finally figure out the obscure pop culture references to Veronica Mars. David Hasselhoff does a paid cheeseburger commercial on the floor. Doctor Who plays first base on a baseball team. Joan Rivers' face finally falls off. People will finally care about David Beckham. Barry Bonds' muscles deflate. And Walmart raises all of their prices. And it's all tonight at whatever time it will air, only on SATV. Oh yeah, and David Tenney marries Jessica Alba. Yeah, right.
You can blame that on Wilbur, because Wilbur is over there working the board. Hey, I have another question. I'm just full of questions tonight. Never mind. Don't. I know what you're thinking. Here's another question. Somebody come and tell me this. The first question was, why does your sneezy, snotty, sniffly, runny, stuffed up, drippy nose get worse at nighttime than daytime? Now, here's my other question. I have a nephew. My nephew is my niece's son, which makes me his great uncle. What is he? Is he a great nephew? Or I'm serious, I want to know. What is he? His mother is my niece. Is he my second? You know, like my cousin's kid is my second cousin, right? And then their kid would be my third cousin. So you have cousin, first cousin, second cousin, blah, 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 down the line, right? Okay, so Nicholas's mom, Jody, is my niece. So does that make him a great nephew or my second nephew? Somebody get me squared away on that. Somebody come in the chat room and tell me what the answer to that is, because it'll just drive me crazy. And then, of course, we're at the Funny Farm.
that you thought I would always be there no matter what you did. So I'm falling slowly to another day, and as those days add up, I feel so weak, lost and lonely. I gotta find another way before I find myself in too deep, and I can't sleep at night, and you don't treat me right, and we probably shouldn't be, and I need to set you free. I wonder where we went wrong, and if we should try again, but I don't know where to start. I wonder if we try again, would things be different this time, or would I break my bruised heart? So I'm falling slowly to another day, and as those days add up, I feel so weak, lost and lonely. I gotta find another way before I find myself in too deep.
Here I am. Here I am. Wow, what was that all about? Wilbur? Oh yeah. When's the world supposed to come to an end? Is it the 21st, 22nd? What's today? Today is man, I've asked that how many times. Today is Thursday, December 13th. So, if the world is going to go bye-bye on the 21st, that's 8 days. If it's going to go bye-bye on the 22nd, that's 9 days. You know what? I'll bet you $20 to 16 donuts that, be it the 21st or the 22nd, we're all here on the 23rd. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. $20 or 16 donuts. If you can figure that out, the bet is on. Bring it on. I'm betting that you and I will be here on the 23rd. The Devil in Me. Clear Blue 22. Not me.
You caught my attention when you called me an angel. Said I was heaven sent to save your heart. Well, I may be tempted, I may like what I hear. You woke up the devil, now she's whispering in my ear. Who do you think you're talking to? I ain't hiding behind a pair of wings.
One more time. Oh, yeah. Ay, 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 ay. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. Hey, listen, before we ride the puppy out of here, email me, georgece@comcast.net. That's georgece@comcast.net. Or look me up on Facebook and send me a message through there. Follow me on Twitter at PopPopX7. That's PopPopX7. That's all one thingy. Let's see, what else do we got? Go to my Facebook page, and we'll hook up. We'll be friends. Then let's see what else we got. Go over to the George Espinlov show page that we just recently made, and we're still working on that. Excuse me. And hit the like button and let us know that you like it, or you like us, or you like the show, or whatever. But anyhow, journey on over there. Let's see, georgece@comcast.net, at PopUpX7 for Twitter. Go to the Espen blog, TheESpenblog, the Espen blog, and there you can see our Christmas videos from the Funny Farm. There are several people that are in it. Oh, and by the way, I need to make this announcement. All of you loons that are in the Funny Farm radio studio and outside listening by monitor. What's that? All right. Right. Travis wants you to meet him over at the Broken Down Barn. Right. The Broken Down Barn at 1:30 this morning. That's right. 1:30 a.m. 1:30 a.m. over at the Broken Barn. He will have the Funny Farm bus, and he will be taking you on your field trip. You all are goofy because you're laughing and you're the ones that's going. Really? Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. Email me, georgece@comcast.net. And thank you for the emails. If you want to know something, ask me. If you tell us where you're from, what you think, what you're doing, and all that other kind of stuff. So I guess that's about it. No, Travis, no. I'm not telling. No. Oh my God, Travis. Lordy, you are a trip, Travis. Hey, listen to me. You have to see it. You have you have to see it to believe it. Ay. Oh boy. No, I was going to say something very important. Oh. Listen to me. I have 2 questions tonight that I need answered, please. The first question is, why does your sneezy, snotty, sniffly, stuffed up, runny, drippy nose get worse at nighttime when it's time to go to bed than during the daytime. Somebody tell me why. That's really bothering me. The other thing is this. My nephew Nicholas has been, let me find it again here. There he is. Has been officially accepted to Lycoming College. That's in Pennsylvania. He's been officially accepted to Lycoming College. Now, Nick's mom, Jody, is my niece. Nick is my nephew. But is Nick my great nephew, or is he my second nephew? Somebody tell me. We only have a few minutes because y'all laugh at me. Go ahead. Y'all laugh, but it's important to me. Jody, Nick's mom, is my niece. Nick, Jody's son, is my nephew. But does that make him my great-nephew? You know, like I'm his great-uncle. Of course, that's the only time I'll ever be great. I did a funny... Oh, man. My voice is getting worse. But anyhow, does that make Nick my great nephew or my second nephew? If you don't get in the chat room and answer me before we leave, before we ride out of here, go to my Facebook page or go to my what do they call that? What do they call that thing? My timeline, is that what it is? Let me check. How do I know what it is? It ain't telling me what it is. Okay, but anyhow, go to my timeline. Facebook.com/G Espenlaub. Facebook.com. Oh boy, oh boy. Go to Facebook.com/G Espenlaub. GESPENLAUB, just the way that it sounds. Espenlaub. Facebook.com/G Espenlaub. And write on my timeline, or whatever that thing's called. Write on my timeline and tell me why someone's sneezy, snotty, sniffly, runny, stuffy, drippy nose gets worse at nighttime than it was during the daytime. And if Jody is my niece and her son is my nephew, is he my great nephew or is he my second nephew? Go to my timeline and please let me know. Answer the question. I need to know. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh my. I hope the coughing spell isn't going to start. But boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Well, yeah. I can take a hint. Yep. Somebody's telling me to get out of here. Remember, go to my timeline, Facebook.com/G Espenlaub. And tell me why the colds get worse at nighttime, at bedtime. And if Jody is my niece, Nick is my nephew, is he my great nephew or my second nephew? Somebody write something and tell me. I believe anything. Why not? Hey, I hope you had as much fun as I did, and thank you. Thank you to Sonora Chase, a delightful guest. Yes, she was. I wish her all the best in everything that she sets her hand to. Thank you so very, very much. Tomorrow night, same time, same station. Yep. Tune in for the George Espinlove Show, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, right here on the Spreaker Network. Come and join me. Bring a friend. Tell somebody. Because we want to ruin them too. We want everybody to come so we can put a smile on their face and make them crazy as the rest of us. You know what I'm saying? That's how we roll. Hey, listen to me. No matter what you're going through, it might be a dark, deep, deep valley. You might be in the midst of a great, great storm, one that you've never went through before in your life. But remember, someone around here, someone here at the Funny Farm cares about you. Seriously. We're strange sometimes, we're goofy all the time, but we really do. We care about you. Email me, georgece@comcast.net, georgece@comcast.net. Well, friends, if it's nighttime where you're at, have a good night. If it's already tomorrow where you're at, have a good day. But regardless, until tomorrow night, same time, same station, this is George Espinlove saying good night, and God bless you.